I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. We can get started. Okay. So today, as I mentioned earlier, we're covering Google Classroom and some of the benefits we can use. If you're following along on the slide presentation, on slide number 2, I have the outline of what we'll be covering. What is Google Classroom and some of the benefits, how to create a new Google Classroom, how to join a classroom, how to set up co-teaching with Google Classroom and some benefits of why you might want to do that. How to post to the stream, and how to create assignments, and grading and feedback. And after all of this, we'll have a quick question and answer section at the end of it. If you do have a question along the way, feel free to type it in the chat. I'll do my best to check it and answer it as we go. Or if you have a specific question, you can ask it at the end of the presentation as well. So the first thing is, what is Google Classroom? Google Classroom was designed to be a tool for instructors to be able to keep everything in one place. It works with the Google tools such as Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Sheets. Every LAUSD student has a MyMail account, which doubles as a Google account, which means they have access to these tools, including the Google Drive, which is used as their cloud, where they can store and share their files. And Google Classroom is a way to have all of those programs and products interact and work together. And some benefits of using the Google Classroom is that it saves time and paper. You don't have to print out multiple copies of something. You can create a template and then distribute it through Google Classroom and have it be all online, all electronically. It uses the Google Suite apps like Google Docs, Slides, Sheets, and more. You can create files electronically, and students will turn them in electronically, which means when they're done with an assignment, there's not a stack of papers to take home. It's all on your computer. It helps the students keep organized, and we'll go over creating topics and setting up assignments, and you'll see how that helps them stay organized. You can communicate with students and parents, and it facilitates collaboration. So you can actually assign things to a group of students to work on, or the whole class. There's a way of differentiating within the Google Classroom environment. Now, the first thing I want to model for you guys is how to create a Google Classroom. Your LAUSD account or your school account should double as a Google account as well, which means for you to create a Google Classroom, you would go to the Google Classroom website. Oh, sorry. You'd go to the Google Classroom website and sign in with your LAUSD account. Let me model what that's going to look like. I'm going to go to classroom.google.com, and let me move this over, sorry. I'm going to sign out. So you would sign into Google using your LAUSD account. Type in your password. And you would be taken to probably the Google homepage at first. From here, you can go to classroom.google.com. And this page should load for you guys. This is a quick overview of all of your Google Classrooms. If this is the first time you're signing into Google Classroom, it's going to ask you to select a role. You could either join as a student or as a teacher. Please make sure that you sign in as a teacher. Otherwise, the feature to create a classroom might not be enabled, and you might have to create a workaround. It gets a little complicated. So please make sure that when prompted, you select that you are a teacher. Can students sign in to receive emails on Gmail? Yes, they have access to Gmail through their MyMail accounts. So I know that they can receive emails that way. Yes, if you click on the link, it might open up to Google Chrome or to your web browser. If you prefer to just follow along with me, then you can leave that be, and then I will show you how to make a copy in a little bit for your own records. If you teach multiple grade levels, you can create a classroom for each grade. or even if you teach multiple periods, you can make one classroom for each period. So let me quickly model how to do that. So up on the top right corner, you're going to see this plus sign. And when I click on that, you have the option to join a class or create a class. So right now I'm going to select create a class. The first thing you'll have to do, and the only required thing, is actually to name your class. So I'm going to create a sample classroom. And if you teach different subjects or different periods, you can add in that information on these text fields. You can also add your room number. It's not required, but if you want to be able to view quickly, if you teach multiple subjects or multiple grades, this might be something you would use to keep track of that. Once you've added all your information, you can press the Create button, and Google will start to generate a Google Classroom for you. I'm going to give it here a quick second for it to load, and you'll see the Google Classroom stream, which is the home page of the Google Classroom. Let me quickly check the chat. Okay. Now, the steps are outlined here on my presentation. I try to make it as descriptive as possible for you to follow along. I did mention that you could make a copy of this presentation. Let me just show you briefly how to do that right now. If you go to File, you can hover over Make a Copy and select the entire presentation. And this will create a copy in your Google Drive. If you're signed in with your LAUSD account or other Gmail account or Google account. If you go to File and Download, you could also download this as a PowerPoint or as a PDF. Just keep in mind, if you do select a download as a PDF or PowerPoint, some formatting may be changed on that conversion. So please keep that in mind. Will every class you create be saved? It will keep track of it. Classrooms are actually never really deleted. They are archived. And that's in case you want to retrieve something from it down the line. So every classroom that is created also creates a folder in your Google Drive inside of a folder called Classrooms. When you archive a classroom, it will create a separate folder called Archives. Okay. So the very first thing you want to do is take note of this classroom code right here. Now I know that it might be kind of small to read, especially if you're projecting this to your students, but luckily there is this square icon next to the code where if we click on that one time, it will make it large enough to view. And you could actually make it even larger by clicking on that square down here one more time, and we have this giant full screen view of the code. So if you are projecting this through a Zoom meeting and you want your students to join the code and you're walking them through it, this might be the best way to show them what the code is. I want us to try to sign in to this classroom if possible. If you are having a hard time switching back and forth between your Google Chrome and the Zoom meeting, then I would encourage you to just watch. I'm going to actually join this classroom here, but if you can follow along, if you feel comfortable enough to switch between Chrome and the presentation, please do so. I'm going to open up a new tab here with a separate account that I have. And once the students are logged into their MyMail accounts or their email accounts, they'll be able to access classroom.google.com as well. And they'll have the same option right here, this plus sign, except their only option will be to join a class. They won't be able to create it. Once they click on this plus sign, you'll notice it'll prompt them for this code. The code, if I switch back here, this is the code KTG7RB2. I'm going to copy and move over to my student view. I'm going to add that in there, and all they have to do is press the join button and they'll be added to your classroom. I'm going to add this to the chat in case you guys want to follow along. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to post that with everybody. Okay. So if you feel comfortable enough to switch back and forth between Chrome and Zoom, please try to add that classroom, and I can show you what it'll look like once the students join. Does Google Class connect to LAUSD Schoology? I've heard that it does. However, I do not have access to a Schoology account at the moment. It's something that we're working towards, trying to get access to model exactly how that would work for you guys. But I would not be able to model that today, unfortunately. Where do you access the presentation? If you scroll up on the chat, you should see the link. Here, I'll post it one more time for you to view it. Okay. All right, so I've joined the classroom. Let me switch back now to my teacher account. And if I go over, you notice at the top here, we have 4 different tabs. If I go over to the people section, I now have a list of teachers that are in this classroom and also the students as well. So this is a quick way for you to check to make sure your students are inside of your classroom or have joined your classroom. Oh, make sure that it doesn't have an extra space if you are copying and pasting the code. Sometimes that extra space will transfer over into what you're typing in. So the best practice would just be to type it in yourself 1 letter at a time. That hopefully should fix any issues. Now, I did mention that you can set up multiple teachers or co-teaching in your Google Classroom. To do that, if you go again to this People tab, you'll notice there's these icons with like a person silhouette and a plus symbol. There's one next to the word teachers or in that same row, and there's one over students. If you click on the one on the row where teachers is, you'll get prompted to enter either a person's name if you have them in your contacts or their email address, and you can actually send them an invitation to be a teacher in your classroom as well. Now, this might be useful if you are working with your grade level and maybe you are designating different people in that grade level to create certain assignments. They can post it for everybody at the same time, or you can copy posts that they've done in their classrooms. So it'd be a good way to share resources and kind of share the workload if you have co-teachers in your classroom. Also, if you have a resource teacher that is helping out, you can also invite them into your classroom so they can assist you as well. Let me see here, chat. Do we need to get parents' emails? No, you don't need parents' emails, but if you do want them to get a summary or report of what is going on in the Google Classroom, then you would collect it and type it in there. And I'll show you how that looks like in a little bit. Okay. Can we post things from our benchmark or engage curriculum? As anything that's a link can be posted on here, and I'm going to cover exactly how that will look like in a little bit. How do you join your My Classroom? Again, if you go back to classes, by the way, if you click on this icon here and go to classes, this will show you all of your Google Classrooms once again. If you want to join a classroom, you can click on the plus sign and then select Join Classroom. Yes, Guardian invitation is optional. How do we get the emails for the kids to join? It depends on if you're an LAUSD instructor, you can get the student emails through, I believe, My Data. I would ask or reach out to somebody in your school or for some assistance with that. Otherwise, I'm not too sure if there are other districts on here. I'm not too sure what those processes might look like. So I would either ask a coordinator or ask an administrator with some assistance with getting their emails. Sure, let me post that class code one more time. Okay, awesome. If you have your emails from Class Dojo, you might be able to retrieve them through there. Yeah, but as far as if you're talking about parent emails, if you have their emails, you can invite them as guardians. You would just have to link them to the correct student. Step-by-step directions on Schoology, how to get the student emails. That's not something, unfortunately, I can provide as I don't have a Schoology account, but you might be able to find some resources on your district website. So let me show you what the different tabs are for and how your communication is going to look like here on Google Classroom. So the first tab is called the stream. This is meant for you to use to communicate with your students. Now you can post on here by clicking share with your class. And some of the tools that you're going to see here are first, if you have multiple classrooms, you can post to multiple classrooms at one time. So you can click on this drop down and select all the classrooms you want to receive that message. For instance, if you teach 3-4 different periods of the same class and you want to share this message with each period, then you can highlight or check off 4 of those classrooms. And then when you post this announcement, it will go to all 4 classrooms at the same time. You can also select specific students to receive these announcements. So you can unselect all students and then select which students you want to view this particular announcement for. If you don't have all students selected, you will not be able to post to multiple classrooms. The only way you can post to multiple classrooms is if you have all students selected. A lot of questions here. Let's see. Oh, I see. Yes, the directions are already posted on Schoology to get the emails. Yes. Yes, students can join multiple classrooms. Yes, so if they have, if they're in middle school and high school and have 6 different periods or more, then they can join a classroom for each. Even if they're in elementary school and you want to create a Google Classroom, one for ELA, one for math, another one for a different subject, then they can join 3 different subjects as well. Or if you want to have different Google Classrooms for maybe one for resource and then one for the regular classroom, then they can do that as well. Or if they mainstream, you know, they can be in multiple classrooms at the same time. For the question about the emails, I think I'll have to answer that towards the end. I think I need a little bit more background information. So yeah, hopefully I can help you out with that towards the end of the presentation. Now, once you have this open, you can type in a message, such as, you know, just say hello to the class. Obviously, this can be whatever you need to communicate with the students. You'll notice down here at the bottom, there is an add button. This will allow you to attach files from your Google Drive. You can add a link to this announcement. You can add a different file, such as a PDF or maybe a Word document. Or you can link a YouTube video if you are providing them with a video for a specific lesson. So you can select this here. I'm going to model how to add something from the Google Drive. So I'm going to click on Google Drive, and you'll get this window that pops up. I'm going to select our presentation as the file I want to share here. You can also, this is my Recents tab. If you want to look for something specific, you can click on My Drive and navigate through there to find the file that you need. So once you select that file, you can press the Add button, give it a couple of seconds, and it's going to attach it to your announcement. Just briefly check the chat. If you are in your classroom, what you can do, I'll give me 1 second. If you're on your classroom, what you can do is click on these 3 lines right next to your classroom name and go to classes and press the plus sign to join the class. Can share videos and pictures. Yes, you can share pictures, videos. Yes, I didn't. Okay. All right, so again, I'm just going to type this in, say hello to the class. You do have the option to post the announcement right away, or you can schedule this post or save it as a draft if you need to come back to it later before posting it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just post it to show you what it looks like for the students. I'm gonna switch over to my student view here. And I'll have to refresh the page. And actually, Google Classroom will prompt me and say there was an update to the stream. So I'll press show. And you see here is the announcement that I just posted. Now, students do have the option to comment on this by default. And if you pose a question here, they can comment on it and share some feedback. And they'll be also to, yes, hello. And they could also reply to each other through here. So this is kind of like an open forum where you might be able to have a class discussion or just get and share some quick information. Now, because we do want to have as much control as possible with this stream, I want to show you how you can modify permissions if needed. So I'm now back in my teacher view. And you can always tell when you're on the teacher view because you have this 4th tab, you have this grades option that's not enabled for the students. So in here, if you're inside your classroom, you have a gear icon on the top right corner. And now, when you click on this, this will take you to your class settings. This is where your class name is. If you need to change any descriptions, subject, you can do so here. It will also have your class code. But underneath that, you see the option for stream. And you can control the permissions that students have on the stream. Right now, it's set to students can post and comment, which means they can make an announcement on their own and also comment on other announcements. If you click on the drop-down, you can change it so that students can only comment, which means you would have to initiate the post and then they're allowed to comment on that. Or if you only want, if you want to leave it so that only yourself, only you can comment or post, you would select only teachers can comment or post. Let's see, classwork on the stream. This will come in handy a little bit later on. If you want to show an announcement that there's been a new assignment created, you would leave this as default, show condensed notifications. If you want to see deleted items, if a student posted something and then deleted a comment, you can enable this to go back and view all deleted items. This is, you'll see there's a little note here that says only teachers can view what's been previously deleted. And then if you want to set up Guardian email summaries, which I'll show you what that looks like in a second. If you want to be able to send out messages to the students' guardians on a weekly basis, you can enable this right here, and it will notify them of any late work, any upcoming work, or anything they did this week inside of the Google Classroom. You also have some options down here for grading. If you'd like to base your grades on total points, or if you want it weighted by category, there's some advanced options here for grading. I'm not going to go too much into it, but just know that you can set up some more grading options through the settings as well. If you're not seeing Guardian summaries, it might be because you don't have any students in the classrooms yet. And, or it might be that the students don't have a Guardian connected in their Google Classroom or in their Google account as of yet. So the class or the student account that I'm using does have a Guardian attached to it. So that might be the reason why you're not seeing Guardian Summaries. If you're having issues logging into your Google Drive through LAUSD, I would just double check to make sure you're not logged into multiple accounts at the same time. I know that if you are logged into a personal and your LAUSD and you're switching back and forth, there might be some issues there. So just make sure that you are logged into only one account. Okay, I'm going to exit out of the class settings. Again, that's available to you at any time just by clicking on this gear. And now something a little bit more fun that I didn't go over is just kind of setting this background. This can just add a little bit of personal touch to your Google Classroom. You can select the background and select the color scheme by clicking on this option here that says Select Theme. So if we click Select Theme, there are some pre-designed themes by Google that you can kind of flip through and select the best one or one that's best suited for your class. When you select the theme, you can then press this blue button here, select Class Theme, and the color scheme will change and the background will change as well. So that's just something to give it a little personal touch. You can also upload your own photos if you choose. Just be aware that it would have to fit these dimensions here. So if you're adding a full portrait mode photo, it's only going to display a short piece of that. So keep that in mind if you are planning to upload your own pictures. Yes, you can invite students through the People tab, which I'll showcase actually right now. So if we click on People, notice or remember that by pressing this Invite Teachers, you'll send an invitation to a teacher to join your classroom. You can do the same thing with Invite Students. If you press on this plus sign, you can type in a student email and send the invitation to join that classroom as well. You can invite guardians. If you see a student's name, you can click Invite Guardian and then type in the guardian's email. And if they approve, it'll be linked to this student in your Google Classroom. So that's one way of inviting guardians into the classroom. And that's how you'll be able to see guardian summaries. So if I scroll down here, you'll notice I've linked myself as this guardian. And so that's what it will look like once it's connected. It'll have the guardian's name. Okay. Do parents see everything that a student sees? No, the parents will get a summary. Let me show you what that looks like now, actually. I'm going to scroll down here. This is a sample guardian summary. It's a summary that's sent out weekly, and I believe it gets sent out on a Friday. It will show student work, what's missing from the previous week, and it will highlight when the due dates were. What's due next week or any upcoming work will be next, followed by the class activity, things that they've done or posted or completed in any given week. And you see it goes through multiple Google Classrooms here. This one's divided by subject. If you want the parents to view the work like a student, they would have to actually log in to the student's account. No, you would have to invite the student first before inviting the parent, yes. Okay, where was it? And again, I've mentioned most of these things already. I'm just going to skip through. This presentation you can use to go back and refresh your memory on some of the topics we already covered. We talked about Stream and how it's used to communicate with students. Our biggest topic for the day is going to be classwork, which I'll showcase in a little bit. We talked about teachers and students, and then grades. The fourth tab will have a spreadsheet with all of the assignments, all of the students, and the grades for each student. So which we'll go over in a little bit. So just to summarize the stream one more time, it's used to communicate. You can communicate reminders. You can provide handouts. You can list agendas. You can provide resources to links, to videos, to documents. You can use it to create discussion questions, sharing ideas, or even providing some feedback. And then you can share these posts with all of the students at once, some of the students, one student, or even share it across multiple Google Classrooms. Okay. Email link to the presentation. Sure, yes. At the end of this recording or this session, we'll send out an email with the recording of the video for this presentation, and I'll include the link to the Google slide as well. How do you delete a class that's created? You don't really delete it. You can archive it, and Google does that in case you want to retrieve something from it later. You would do so by going to your Google Classroom. This is called the dashboard. And there's these 3 dots on your classroom, and you can archive that classroom. You can type in each student's name and under the invite section, or if you want to try to walk them through it, you can create a Zoom session in this case, have them go onto classroom.google.com, and then they can each press this join button, right, and type in the class code. So you can invite them individually if they know how to check, oh, thank you. If they know how to check their emails, that could be the easiest way of getting them to join your classroom. Or if you feel comfortable enough to walk them through it, you can maybe do it via Zoom session and just have them all type in the code. It will do the same thing. Okay, so now we're going to move on to classwork. This is where you can assign work to the class. And again, just like the post, you can assign work to one student, multiple students, the entire class, and you can create the assignment for multiple classes all at the same time. To do that, you're going to press the Create button right here. And notice how you have quite a few options. You have assignment, you have quiz assignment, question, you can provide materials, you can reuse a post, and I'll model how to use this in some situations where you might want to use this, or you can create topics for your assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and demo the first one, assignment. Notice the first thing you need to do, and the only thing you really need to do for, as far as Google is concerned, is provide a title. So I'm going to type in just sample assignment. Underneath the title, you can provide additional instructions for the students. You can do that in this text field right here. I'm going to move over to the right and come back to this later and show you these drop-down buttons that we saw earlier under the stream. So again, this first drop-down can be used to select multiple classrooms. So if you want to create an assignment for different classrooms, you can do so here. You can just select them. If you want to assign it to all students, you can leave this selected by default, or you can select specific students for to receive this assignment. You can change the point value here, or you can leave it as ungraded. You can add a due date by selecting the calendar date here. And you can categorize the assignment under a specific topic, such as quizzes or a specific unit, something of that sort. The other option here is Rubric. Now, you can press Rubric and you have the option to create a new rubric. You can reuse it, or you can import one from Google Sheets. So I'm going to demo briefly how to create a rubric. So notice the first thing you have to do is name the criteria. What is it that you are scoring in this rubric? You can type in a short description. and you can add the point values to each. So if we start with 1 here, you can add a 2, you can press the plus again, add a 3, add a 4, and then you can add the title for each level and a description of what it would take to achieve that score on the rubric. Now, if you have a larger project where maybe the students are creating a presentation and there's multiple criteria to score, then you can add a separate one down here. And then you can repeat the same thing as many times as you need to. Once you're done, you can save it and reuse it for future assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and just exit out of this, but I want to let you know that that is available to you. Okay, this is the first time using this. If it's the first time you are using this, you might want to just select your role. If you might have been taken to a different Google page, I know that happens from time to time. After you sign in the first time, it might take you to a general settings page. So just double check that you're under classroom.google.com. Okay, so once you have all of this set on the right-hand side, you can now go back and add files, links, Google Drive files, a YouTube video, any resources that the students might need for this assignment can be added in. It could be multiple files at once. It doesn't need to be just one file at a time. If you want to provide them with a template, you can create a template on your Google Drive and then add that template through this option, through the add option here. One more time, I'm just going to add in this presentation because there is a very important option when you're creating these assignments and you want to share a template. You'll notice if I move over here to the right, there is another drop down on this file and it says students can view file. Now, what this will do is it will attach this file to the assignment and make it so students can open it up and view it, but they won't be able to modify the content. If you click on the drop down, you can change it so that students can edit the file. However, this is one file that all of your students will be modifying and editing. So be careful with that setting. And then the last option, which is probably used the most frequently, is make a copy for each student. If you create a file that you want as a template and you want to share that template with multiple students, then you would select make a copy for each student. Now you can also leave it blank and have this and create a new file. So if you want to create just a blank Google Doc, you can do so here as well. Or a Google Slide, which is presentations, or Google Sheets for spreadsheets, even a Google Drawing or a Google Form. So those are available to you here. Now, let's say that I wanted to provide this template to my students, but I accidentally forgot to change my setting here to make a copy for each student. Well, unfortunately, if you decide to post or to assign this assignment, and you forget to modify that setting to make a copy for each student, you won't be able to go back and edit that setting, which makes it a little bit difficult to deal with. But I'm going to model what you can do if that happens. I know when I first started using Google Classroom, that's the #1 setting that I would forget to change, is making sure that my templates had been changed to make a copy for each student. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to assign this file or this assignment. And after it's posted, I forgot to change it to make a copy for each student. So what you can do, instead of just recreating the whole thing, is you can go to create, and this is where the reuse post comes in handy. You can press create, reuse your post, select your Google Classroom, and then select your assignment. And I'm going to select reuse here. Give it a second to load one more time. And it's not going to just post it automatically. It will actually take you to the assignment creation page. And in here, I can go in and modify this and make a copy for each student. And now when I assign it, everybody will get their own copy. I'll give this a second to publish, and I'm going to check the chat very quickly. I tried a slide yesterday. How does this slide get attached to the assignment? Oh, you would add it to, I'm going to model that one more time. You would select this add button and then navigate to your Google Drive. If you just opened up that file, it should be under recent. If it's not, if it's somewhere else in your Google Drive, you would have to click on Drive and then navigate through it and find it. Okay, awesome. Link to the presentation one more time, sure. Okay. Oh, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out of this here. Just remember, if you did use the reuse reuse post feature here to fix an error, make sure you go back and you delete the assignment. Right, so we can delete that there. Now, you do also have the option to create a quiz assignment. It will show up as a regular assignment for students, but for your purpose or for your creation here, it'll create a Google form. If you're not familiar with Google Forms, it can be used to create quizzes. I'm going to briefly show you what that looks like. I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I'm just going to let you know some of the basic features of Google Forms. You can create a name for your Google form. You can add different types of questions, including multiple choice questions, a short answer, paragraph response, check boxes, drop downs. There's quite a few options here. And one of the benefits of using Google Forms is that you can give it an answer key and it will auto grade certain types of questions for you. So if I click answer key, for instance, and I want to select my first choice as the correct answer, it will recognize that. It won't show it to the students. It'll just recognize it. And then you can set the number of points that question is worth, press done, and after a student completes the assignment, it will auto-grade it for you. So that's a handy feature of Google Forms. You can make multiple questions to go along with it. You can divide it up by sections. If you have some time and you feel comfortable with this, I would highly recommend trying this out on your own. No, you cannot go back and fix it. It's based on how it creates the assignment. So when it makes a copy for each student, if it's only able to do that on the initial publish of that assignment. If you published it and you tried to edit, it won't actually let you edit that to make a copy for each student. You can edit the title, you can edit the instructions, you can add more things to it, but as far as sharing that file and making a copy for each student, it won't allow you to do that. Code of conduct for kids and parents. I don't think there's an official one from Google. It might be something that you would create maybe as a school or as a grade level and just kind of adopted by everybody in that grade level or in the school. Can you share assignments from other teacher if you use them? Yeah. So if you are co-teaching, if you are shared as a teacher on somebody else's Google Classroom, they can see your assignments and you can see their assignments. And that also means you can reuse a post that they've created onto your Google Classroom. So there's a lot of benefits of adding each other, especially if you work as a grade level or maybe as a specific subject. If you have each other as co-teachers, you can reuse and share and post for everybody at the same time. Even if you have slight variations on your assignment, if somebody creates it, and then you can make a copy and modify it slightly without having to redo the whole thing yourself. So that reuse post, that's another feature of it. If you go to create and reuse post, you can go to any classroom that you are co-teaching with and grab stuff from there as well. Kinder, it will be a little difficult for Kinder. I've used it as young as second grade, and I know that first graders have done it. It's easier if they have a device for themselves, if they're on a one-for-one device. That way they don't have to worry about typing in their MyMail accounts each time. I do know that would be a little bit difficult to pull off for kindergarten. Yeah, but if the parents are helping, then it might become easier. But if they're not too comfortable with this, it can be challenging. Yes. I want to also showcase this question option under classwork. The question option will let you choose either a short answer type of question or a multiple choice question. If you want to take a quick poll of the class, or just do a very fast check of understanding, you can use these tools. If you want to start a discussion chat, a discussion post, you can do this as well. You can type in your question here, and then if you follow my cursor down here to the bottom right corner, it says students can reply to each other. So one scenario might be where you ask a discussion post to the class, and then in your instructions, you tell the students to answer the prompt and then reply to two or three of your classmates. So as long as this is selected, they're able to do that. If you unselect that, then they'll only be able to reply once and not with each other. They wouldn't be able to reply to each other. You can also allow them to edit their answers if you choose to by selecting this option here. And then this can also be graded. Again, you can pose it to some students, to multiple classrooms. You can add files or create new files all on here. So that would be questions. How do you add text images from Benchmark onto Google Classroom? Unfortunately, I don't think I can model that for you. I don't have access to Benchmark. So I apologize for that. I wouldn't be able to model that for you. Lastly, you have materials, which this can be used just to provide them with some links. If there are some websites that you use frequently, like Zern or iExcel, AR, and you want to post that into the Google Classroom, you can just add it as material. There's no score, there's no other special setting to create. It's just a link or a file, and it's there for them the whole time. Can you use video conferencing here like Zoom? You can post under the stream your Zoom URL. If you make a Zoom session and you have that URL, you can communicate it here, or you can add it as an assignment as well. Again, under that add button, you would just select link and type in or paste in the Zoom URL. Okay. Now, let me show you an actual assignment. I think we covered all of this here. So this is an assignment that I used a while ago for one of my classes. We were creating a Mondrian-inspired painting using Google Sheets. And so this is what the teacher will see on the assignment. They'll see the instructions. Any files that you provided for the students will show up. You'll see who has turned in the assignments and who has not turned it in yet. You'll also be able to see, once it's graded, how many you've graded and how many are still left to be graded. For the students, when they open up the assignment, this is what they see. They'll have the instructions here front and center. Any files that are provided for them to view are also here right underneath the instructions. And then their work is off to the side here, off to the right. This is where they have their Google Sheets or their Google Docs. Any work that they're submitting will be here. Now notice if you create a template for them, the template will automatically show up here with their name, and I'll show you that in a second. But they can also add or create their own files. If they have files that they've made either on their local computer or on the Google Drive, they can add them through here. Or if, for instance, you've assigned a journal entry, they can add and create a new Google Doc, type up their entry, and then turn it in. This purple button here at the bottom, when they're done with their assignment, this is how they turn in the assignment. If there is no work to be turned in, for instance, if you are assigning maybe 20 minutes of iExcel or 20 minutes of Zern or another website, then they might not have a file to share or to upload. So this button will actually change to mark as done. So if there's no files to turn in, and it won't say turn in, it'll say mark as done. Now down at the bottom, you have two areas for comments. The first one here is class comment, and this will show up to the assignment page itself, and students will be able to see each other's comments. If they want to write you a personal private comment, they can go off to the right and ask a question here. Let's see here. Oh, materials, yes. So materials is, again, under classwork, create, and materials, right there. I would double check the class code if you're having an issue with your students joining your classroom. Making sure that that's correct, making sure there's no spaces in between. That typically is one of the issues when it comes to adding or joining the classroom, is that they've added a space somewhere either afterwards, before. If you copy and paste, it could copy an extra space because when we type something up, there's always a little extra space afterwards, especially if you're copying it from a website. It could be a formatting issue. So just double check to make sure there aren't any spaces there. How can you get a new code? Let me see if I can show that. So if you go, sorry, I did that kind of fast. If you go to your settings and you scroll down to where it says class code, you can reset the code. And that's how you can get a new class code. The class code, they'll have to enter only once. Only once. And then they won't have to enter it again once they're already in your classroom. If you reset the code, it does not change, it does not take them out of the classroom. They don't have to enter it again. It will just reset it so that new people, will be able to join. Okay. Oh yes, I wanted to show you the student view of the assignment. So if I go to classwork, I'll see that there is a new assignment here. I'm now here in the student view. Again, we can tell because there's no grade tab. Notice how this circle here is purple. It's fully colored in. This lets the students know that they have not turned in the assignment. You'll see once I turn in my assignment, this will actually be grayed out. So let me click on that very quickly. Notice there was a class comment, and I can see the comment made by other students on here as well. I'm going to select View Assignment. And again, just like before, my work will be here off to the right. If I want to add on to this, I can press Add or Create. I can add from my Google Drive. I can add a link or attach a file, or I can create a brand new file through here. I can also write my comments and then type in a private comment as well. Now I'm going to turn in the assignment just to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to press turn in. It will double check with me, and it will list the files that I am turning in. And so then I'm going to accept it by pressing turn in again. It will take a second here. Now I'm going to go back out into my classwork, and you'll notice that purple circle has now turned gray. That means that I am done with this assignment. It's been completed. That's a quick way for me to, as a student, to double check to make sure I've turned in all of my assignments. They'll be able to click on it if you add it as a link. That's very important. If you just paste it onto the instructions, then it won't be a clickable link. But if you, when you're setting up your assignment, if you go to the add button and select link, then they'll be able to click on it. Yes, students can access Google Classroom from iPads. However, they will have to install the Google Classroom app and the Google Classroom, and the Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, all of those apps as well in order to fully use all the capabilities. And even then, there are some features that might be limited and formatting might be an issue. So the best experience is always going to be on a laptop or desktop, but yes, they can use it also in iPads or with iPads, or even phones for that matter. Okay, let me go back here. I think we already discussed people, so I'm going to skip over that. Grading assignments, yes. So when a student has turned in the assignment, you can open it up. This is now again in my teacher view. I can see that one student has turned in the assignment and 19 more have not. I can select here, view assignment. And when the teacher views the assignment, the first page they're taken to is actually student work. And they can see the files that the students are working on this larger portion of the screen. You can also see how many have turned it in and who has not yet turned it in. Over on the left, you get a list of students, and they are also separated by those that have not turned it in and those that have. And later on, once you grade an assignment, you'll get a different category called graded. You can sort through the students by status, which means it'll group them into different categories such as turned in, assigned, or graded. You can also sort them by first or last name. Now, if you are going to grade an assignment, I'll take mine for example, you can click on the student work. It will open up their file and you can view it. You can go through it, click on different pages if that's what the file looks like, or if it's a Google slide. You can add your score here under grade. You can also add private comments. And one of the handy features in Google Classroom is actually you can make a comment bank. So if you press here, you have comment bank, and you can just pre-type in some comments that you can reuse for different assignments. And so that could be a nice time saver for you guys, and a faster way of providing feedback to your students is by using this comment bank. So once you've graded the assignment, just go ahead and put 80 on here. And you can then, I did mention this, you can add a comment, but then it's going to tell you right here, it's not returned. So students, when they turn in the assignment, they lose the ability to edit the file. So they don't have access to edit the file until after you have returned it. So if you want, or they actually don't see their score either unless you return their file. So if you want them to view it, or if you want them to fix something on there, they can't do it unless you actually return that document to them. So I'll go ahead and do that now. I'll press return. And it's going to warn you just to make sure you want to do that. We'll press return. There are other ways of returning the document. If I exit out of this for a second, you can also return it by selecting the student's name and then pressing the return option up here. So notice how I've graded this assignment, and this new category showed up graded. So, and over here on the larger section, I can see how many have turned it in but are not graded, how many have not turned in the assignment, and how many of the files have actually graded. So you have a quick glance at all of that right there. Add your name. Your name doesn't show up under teacher or under student. If you created a Google Classroom, you should be added as the, as the teacher under people. So you should see your name there. Yes, that's actually a very great tip is add yourself as a student. The only thing is you're going to have to use a different email account. So yeah, that's the only thing. You can't be a student and a teacher with the same email account. So you'll have to create a separate email for that. What if you don't want them to edit it after it's graded? Is there an option? Well, you do have the option of viewing the history. And so if you're concerned that a student might modify the file afterwards, let me go back here. There is actually a button that says see history. And this will let you know when it was turned in. And actually here, let me pull up this file actually. So in any Google file, whether it's a Google Doc, Google Slide, Google Sheets, you can view the history of the file and it will outline when changes were made. So you can see if something was modified after you've returned it or not. So that is one way of checking. It shows up under people, but it does not show up on the page where the classes I'm enrolled in are, the one with the class code and picture. So if you mean here, is this where you mean? And so this would be your classroom name. It wouldn't be necessarily your name. If you want to modify this name, you can press the gear, and the very first option here is class name. So that's what shows up on the top banner. So you can modify it there. Okay. I think we went over grading assignments, student work, returning assignments. The last thing I just want to mention, sorry, is this link. So Google has created what they call an information hub, and I'll show you what the website looks like. If you scroll down here, they do have some tutorials on their different tools and programs, including Google Classroom. So you're welcome to explore this. And they have little videos that explain each of the things I covered in small chunks. They also have videos on creating quizzes online through Google Forms, if that's something you're interested in. And then there's some other stuff such as class websites and Google Docs and all that. So I encourage you, if you want to learn a little bit more about all of this, go into this website and explore some of the tutorials. There's a lot of good information on here. Shows my name underneath. Oh, this is because I posted an announcement or an assignment. Yeah, that's because I posted the assignment, yeah. Scroll up. I'm sorry, were you looking for this? The link is in this Google slide. It is number 36. It's near the end. And it is, you should be able to just click on it to access this page. Oh, okay. Yes. It's teachfromhome.google. I think it's their link. Okay. Now, this is the end of the presentation. I will leave it up for questions at this time. If you have any questions, you can either ask them by unmuting yourself or ask them through the chat. If you do want to make a copy of this and you want me to go over that one more time very quickly, if we go to File and then Make a Copy, you can make a copy of the entire presentation, or you can also go to File and download a PowerPoint version or a PDF version of the presentation. Oh, thank you so much. Let me go back to Zoom. Okay, and also if you have any questions, the last slide has my email address, jsanchez@computerwisekids.com. We might have some follow-up sessions. If you're interested in participating and would like to recommend a topic for us, you can email me here, jsanchez@computerwisekids.com. Oh, you're welcome. Will there be other classes? Yes, if you can let me know what other topics you guys might need help with. We are working on getting access to Schoology to be able to help you guys out with that. So hopefully that's something we can provide for you guys soon. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. You're welcome. Yes, you can email me any questions you have. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. I'll stay on for a few minutes in case anybody has some questions, but I'll be ending the meeting shortly afterwards. De nada, gracias. Oh, we currently don't have a training on Class Dojo. If that's something you want to see, please send us an email. And if we get a big enough response, then we'll probably do something with that. How do you save the entire presentation? If you go to File, and you have to be, if you want to save it as a Google slide, you would have to be logged into your Google account, which could be your LAUSD account. If you go to File, Make a Copy, you can select Entire Presentation right there. Or even File, Download, and download it as a PowerPoint or as a PDF. Thank you guys, you too. If you do want a school site PD, please send me a message and we can work something out. Thank you for joining, everybody. Yes, after you make the assignments, if you want to sort them into topics, you can go back and modify that setting. It won't affect the assignment. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Benchmark files to Google Classroom. For some reason, it expires within 24 hours. It expires as a Google Classroom link. Is that what is happening? It might be that Benchmark is changing the link. I'm not too familiar with how that access works, but I do know that if Benchmark is changing that link, then it wouldn't work anymore. So I would double check. Maybe if you can do some troubleshooting by posting it one day and checking the link and going back to it and seeing if the link changes, then that might be the issue that's happening. And that wouldn't be a Google Classroom issue. That would be a Benchmark issue. A scrolled assignment. Oh, I see what you mean. Probably a PDF would be the scrolling version of this. So if you download it as a PDF, you can scroll down. All of the assignments that are created on any classroom can be reused, but if you archive the assignment, it won't show up anymore. You would have access to it through your Google Drive. If you go into Google Drive, let me see if I can show that for you briefly. If you go into Google Drive, you're going to have a classrooms folder. And in here, you'll have your archived classrooms, which would include your archived files as well. To access the files, you would have to go through this. You'd have to go to your Drive, Classroom, and then open up that archived Google Classroom to view it. Yeah. If you plan to reuse them, no, I would not archive old assignments. If you guys do want to have a follow-up session, please just let me know. You can email me here. If you enjoyed today's session and you want to let your administrators know about us, feel free to share my email with them, jsanchez@computerwisekids.com. We worked with many schools throughout LAUSD, and yeah, please let them know about us. Thank you. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the session. I hope I answered most of your questions. Again, this presentation is available to you. Feel free to make a copy and download it for yourself. Have a great day, everybody.